Okay, so we are live. Do the judges want to go around and introduce themselves?
Sure, I can start. Hi everyone, my name is Daniel. I'm currently working as a clinical research assistant at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto, Ontario, and I have a master's degree in medical genomics as well.
Hi everyone, I'm James Whitfield. I'm a professor of physics at Dartmouth College, also adjunct professor of chemistry there as well. Also a co-founder at Q-Braid and a number of scientific advising boards for various quantum computing companies.
Jason, go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Sure. Hi everyone, happy to be here. My name is Jason. I'm one of the co-founders at Q-Braid with James. I am a recent MIT grad, did my undergrad in physics and math, have done some projects in quantum simulation and so on. It's a bit about me.
Awesome. So with that, we will go into our first presentation, which is HealthHub. Ria, go for it.
Thank you. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome. Hello, judges. I am Ria Tyagi, and I'm presenting on behalf of Team Hydration. I'm going to be honest. Healthcare quality in the US is decreasing as we speak. Even before COVID-19, healthcare costs were continuously rising, while issues like obesity and heart disease rampaged. Now, with COVID-19, this issue has only worsened. Due to the pandemic, the majority of people avoid going to the hospital to ensure their safety. And job loss means that approximately 86% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, and healthcare is a second priority. Unfortunately, healthcare prices still continue to rise. Let's take a closer look. Comparative to other peer countries, US healthcare isn't doing too well. According to Bloomberg, the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, and the Commonwealth Fund, healthcare prices have been steadily increasing, doctors are less accessible, and life-threatening medical conditions are becoming common. How are everyday people meant to live healthy lives in such an environment? Enter HealthHub, a modern solution to a decades-old problem. HealthHub is a PWA, progressive web app, that is accessible through the internet from any device. HealthHub organizes and protects your data, analyzing it to inform you about your health and provide potentially life-saving predictions. To clarify, HealthHub is a supplemental tool to assist with the diagnosis process. HealthHub limits your contact with doctors, instead allowing a doctor and patient to communicate health data virtually through smart contracts, which are automatic two-party transactions. The web app is useful for everyone as it allows them to receive updates about their health and view their health data, gathered from IoT devices daily. Normally, health data is only collected a few times a year during doctor checkups. So, how does HealthHub work? HealthHub is a combination of 3 new and innovative technologies: IoT, or Internet of Things, blockchain, and machine learning. IoT is the present and the future. It refers to the network of things that share access to the internet. Today, we see IoT devices in every home: smart scales, Fitbits, smart fridges, and of course, the most common, the modern smartphone. Each of these devices has untapped potential to track a large amount of useful health data: blood pressure, oxygen saturation, and pulse, for example. HealthHub aggregates data from all of these IoT devices and puts it into one easy-to-access place: the online dashboard. Blockchain is a database that stores data in blocks chained together in chronological order. Blockchain technology is capable of providing a decentralized alternative, where data is collectively owned by the people. Blockchain allows us to securely store patient health data and gives HealthHub users control over their information. With a smart contract, users can choose who receives access to their data. Recipients may include a patient's doctor or family, allowing health information to be communicated virtually. Blockchain services are also scalable for our business. We pay for what we need, so it is easy to accommodate growth or decline. We understand that health data is sensitive and that centralized storage often results in data leakage for monetary gain. We are committed to providing secure data storage through blockchain technologies. Machine learning is a rapidly developing field that has become so popular so fast because models were able to increase their accuracy over time. Our prototype model has received over 90% accuracy in predicting heart attacks using only health data that can be gathered from IoT devices. As we begin to receive data from HealthHub, the accuracy will only increase, allowing us to potentially save users' lives. To summarize, HealthHub uses machine learning to predict the likelihood of a patient currently having a specific medical condition or contracting one in the future. We have implemented the supervised gradient boosting classifier, a speedy and accurate tree-based ML model that stacks multiple weaker models designed to minimize error. We are currently experimenting with unsupervised learning and regression, specifically in developing a mood tracker that can use health data to predict a user's mood. Here's a display of our current web app dashboard, which is where all of the data gathered by IoT devices is aggregated. The orange chart next to the weight graph displays health risks and their likelihoods. The website is still a work in progress, and we continue to improve the UI. As a business, we considered two options for HealthHub, a profit-based or a humanitarian-based plan. In our profit-based plan, HealthHub would be sold as a subscription service like Netflix, for example, costing a few dollars a month. We could also add specialized options. For example, parents could track the health of their kids. This system sustains us long-term and is also easier to expand. Money gained could be reinvested into HealthHub to conduct research and expand the business. Our humanitarian plan allows us to create the largest social impact. We can partner with healthcare organizations to provide HealthHub free to users, similar to the way Canvas or Google Classroom partner with educators. Healthcare organizations will save money in the long term, and overall patient health will increase. We will most likely implement a hybrid plan, in which we combine elements from both plans to make HealthHub profitable and accessible. Finally, any questions?
Thank you, Ria. Yeah, awesome. And yeah, we'll go into questions now.
Hi, Ria. I guess I'll kick it off. I wanted to know a little bit more about your team. So it sounds like you're doing a lot of things that involve AI as well as internet security. For the internet security aspect, it sounds like you guys have a very intelligent idea of using blockchain. However, I've not really heard of blockchain being used inside of deployments like this. So I imagine that security validating security would be a very difficult thing. So I want to know if you had some expertise in your team around security.
Oh yeah, definitely. So a lot of us, like our team is composed of 3 members. We've all done countless hackathon projects. We've participated in a lot of projects. All of us have a strong understanding of ML as well as blockchain. But what we really plan to use specifically just to expand is AWS blockchain, because AWS provides blockchain as a service. So we can easily, as I mentioned, pay for only what we need and also have a very secure platform. Because building our own blockchain doesn't seem as reasonable as, of course, using a stronger and more secure blockchain from AWS.
Hi, Ria. Great presentation. Just a quick question. I'm wondering, how do you envision this product or your web app standing out from different products that currently exist? Because there are a bunch of different apps, like well-known ones like MyFitnessPal, for example, that tend to do something similar, but not exactly the same. So how would you say yours stands out from other ones?
Definitely. So I think one way we definitely stand out is the fact that we use blockchain are going to be a decentralized system. So one issue we have, a lot of health systems have, especially bigger giants, is the selling of data. You see like a fitness, you gain a few pounds one week, and now you see like a fitness commercial popping up with your computer. But with HealthHub, that's not the way we plan it. There's going to be entirely a decentralized system where users have control over their own data. So basically, we'll have like better credibility and security. For example, like take Bitcoin. There's been others, like other online cryptocurrencies, but at the same time, Bitcoin still survives because it was decentralized and put all the trust in the users. Just one thing that definitely differentiates our system.
Thank you.
Yeah. Also, hopping in here, great presentation. What I want to dig in a little more on is the data collection. So you showed basically a prototype of how you would build out your prediction models. I was just curious, what data set did you run on? Like, how did you collect that data? And then what what kind of timeline do you think it would take to kind of get adoption of, you have all these devices that even a single user needs to connect to HealthHub? Is that going to be kind of a pain point that to get set up, I need to go configure everything myself, or are you guys going to try to roll this out?
Just to answer the first part of your question. So basically, like the data set we used it from Kaggle for our experimental model, since they have a lot of data in this area. And we hope to eventually be able to have enough users to use only our HealthHub data. So to like continue with the gathering, the way it's really going to work is we don't assume it's going to be a hassle. We're really going to take like a lot of that procedure for ourselves. We'll provide like YouTube videos, guidelines, things to help people connect their devices. Because really all it is your device being uploaded, the data from your device being uploaded to the cloud and stored in the blockchain provided by AWS. So in that way, we can assist the usage of APIs. We might send out hardware packages if we decide to do that. We're still looking more into ways to like collect the data, but it shouldn't be a hassle. It's just going to be a simple process. Like for example, the Alexa, the Amazon, when you set it up, it's not really like, much of a struggle. They give a very detailed tutorial and guide and automatic connection. So we're envisioning that.
Okay.
Awesome. So those are all the questions we have. So let's go into our next presentation, which is Himani with Somnium. Take it away.
Two things first. Can you see the presentation?
Yep, we can see it.
And what about the pointer?
Yep, that too.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to be presenting Somnium, which is a project made by myself and my two friends, Dora Wang and Joey Liu. So the problem that we want to address is that sleep is one of the three most important necessities for human life. In comparison to food and water, you start to see severe symptoms and effects after a shorter time without it. But according to the CDC, 60 to 70% of the American population suffers from chronic sleep disorders. And the actual number may be closer to 90 just because sleep disorders seem to be so overlooked in comparison to other problems. Just stop and think about that for a second. Like for every 10 people that you know, 9 people are going to be suffering from sleep disorders. And at that point, it's a public health problem. It's a public health crisis. And so that's where our solution, Somnium, comes in. Somnium is Latin for dream, and our solution is designed to help you do exactly that. What we've created is essentially a high-tech sleep mask that plays binaural beats, which is a sort of auditory illusion, through built-in speakers to help you sleep. What sets it apart from other sleep aids is that it's sleek and lightweight, and it collects biometric data from sensors here, here, and then behind the eyepieces here to learn the vital patterns of the user and then analyze their real-time data in order to figure out what sounds will help them sleep the best. So let's go a little deeper into which kind of sensors that we were going to use. So on the nose bridge here, we have a tilt sensor that measures your body movement throughout the night. Up here on the forehead, we have a thin film biometric sensor that measures your body temperature and your pulse. And finally, behind the eyepieces, we have 2 pressure sensors that record your eye movement to track your REM cycle. Now, the machine learning algorithm, it factors in all of this data in order to figure out which sounds are best to play through the speakers, which are built in here and here. So the true genius of Somnium, however, is that all the processing is done on an external app. The technology today allows us to do machine learning on apps using Swift and things like that. And it also prevents extra bulk from being added onto the mask. Users can track their data in an organized manner, as you can see here, and the analysis classifies data in a way that makes some general conclusions about their health and helps them understand their sleep data better. Another benefit of the app is that users can set a wake window. For example, I want to wake up between 7 and 7:30, and the mask will do its best according to your sleep cycles and your sleep stages in order to wake you in that time. So let's take a closer look at the machine learning algorithm. So we start with alpha waves around 8 to 13 hertz, and then we collect the data from the sensors, store it, and analyze it to see if the user is experiencing effective rest, which is characterized by presence in stages 3, 4, and 5, which is slow wave REM sleep. The user will also have a low relative body temperature and lower pulse. If they aren't, which is usually the case in the beginning of the night, the frequency will change and the loop will restart. Once they do achieve effective rest, the algorithm will go on to determine whether they are in stage 5, which is the deepest sleep. And once they do reach stage 5, the mask will stop playing sounds just to conserve energy throughout the night. Okay, so closer to the wake window, the mask will once again begin determining your sleep stage to see if you are now in light sleep. That's stages 1 and 2, no REM movement. The user will have a slightly higher body temperature and pulse compared to what they did before. And the loop will keep on going until they do achieve light sleep, and then the mask will wake the user. So now that we've gone into the tech aspects, let's go more into the business aspects of Somnium. The sleep aid industry is currently worth $68 billion and is expected to double over the next 10 years due to increasing health awareness. Okay, and as for marketing, we intend to use traditional marketing practices like SEO, social media networking, attending sleep conferences, and providing customer incentives to spread the word. Providing all goes as planned, we intend to release our first prototype to a small group of techies in 2021, and based on their feedback, we'll do a bigger early release in 2022. And then based on the feedback of that one, in 2023, we'll do a general public release. After taking a year to build our customer base, we intend to expand into the international market by 2025. Now, our first international expansions are going to be done into the regions of Canada, Europe, and then China, because these countries tend to have a larger market for emerging technologies, and they are also more developed countries, and probably more a bigger population is able to afford the sleep mask that we are proposing. So the bottom line is, we believe that Somnium has the power to fundamentally improve the sleep quality and, by extension, the lives of millions of people around the world. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Himani. Yeah, we will go into questions now.
Yeah, maybe I can start. Yeah, great presentation. Thank you very much. So I wanted to dig in a little more on the how much research you guys have done in coming to the mask conclusion. What other sleep, because there are plenty of sleep aid solutions, I guess, out there. So there's an app I know that will try to wake you up within certain windows. Try to detect your REM sleep. So could you talk more about maybe alternatives you considered and why you think that a mask with sensors will not be annoying to a user, why it's the right choice?
Well, a lot of other sleep aids are kind of ubiquitous solutions where they have one solution for everybody, and everybody is different. Everybody has different genes and different sleep patterns, different ways that they sleep, insomnia, whatever. And the reason that we decided that something that collects your data in real time and provides you solutions based on that real-time data was such a good choice is because of that difference. Like, you have things like, there's an app out there I know that uses your sounds while you're sleeping to wake you up within a certain window. But the thing with that is that it doesn't help you while you're actually sleeping. And it doesn't help, especially patients that have insomnia and other chronic sleep disorders where it's hard to stay asleep during the night. There's nothing out there that does it with your real-time data. And that's what makes ours so different from whatever else is out there.
So, hi, that was a great presentation. Thank you very much for giving us a little bit of sense of why this problem is important. And also even the total addressable market. One of the questions that I have about something like this is that this sounds like a rather complicated device, or not complicated, but very technologically decent device, that it's hard for me to imagine paying too much money for a sleep aid. So I'm wondering, how did you think about pricing the device, and like how would that actually play out in terms of its actual adoption? $20, I might buy it, might try it, but if it's $200, I don't know.
Okay, so obviously this is an emerging technology presentation that we're doing, and a lot of the sensors that especially the thin biometric sensor, that's something new. And the reason that we said it might not be affordable to people in developing countries is because of the low accessibility of that. But we expect as these sensors become more developed and as they become more common, we will be able to spend less money on them and then lower the price of the product. And that's why we're doing a small release and then a bigger release and then a bigger release, because we know that as time goes on, technology is going to get cheaper.
Thanks.
Great presentation, Hamani. I just had a quick question based on something you said in terms of this being a tool that can be used by multiple users. I'm wondering how customizable is something like this by a user in terms of, changing the music that is being played, or are things that are being built in a one-time feature and that's the only thing you can access?
Okay, well, the thing is that it customizes it based on your data. And so what it plays is not music, but rather different frequency ranges. So I don't know if you've heard of binaural beats, but there are things called alpha, gamma, beta rays, and they all have different impacts on your brain activity. And so based on your data, like say that you're in, I don't know, a little stressed state, the sensors will pick that up and they'll be like, okay, I need to play theta waves for this person. Theta waves are a little slower frequencies and they result in you kind of calming down a little bit, as opposed to when you're waking up, they might play beta waves, which are a little higher frequencies and they make you wake up a little and then they make you wake up a little. So it's not necessarily music, it's more like an unconscious thing where it's just a couple frequency ranges. And in terms of the design itself, I don't know if you saw, I can probably go back to that slide. Am I allowed to do that? Sorry. So over here, you can see in these bands over here that they're adjustable according to head size. So that's another thing we wanted to take into account. Everyone has a different head size as well. So that's why we made that part of it customizable.
Thank you.
Awesome. So let's get into our last presentation, which is energy, presented by Danielle. So Danielle, go for it.
Oh, I can't stop sharing my screen for some reason. I think the thing is covered. Oh, here we go.
Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, wonderful. AB is a real life 15-year-old who suffers from anxiety, heart palpitations, nausea, and shakiness. Her anxiety is so bad that it impacts her ability to participate in social life and school. She stress eats as a coping mechanism for her anxiety, and on top of that, suffers from hypoglycemia or low blood sugar, a side effect which often accompanies diabetes medication. Believe it or not, her anxiety and hypoglycemia are actually biologically connected. After using a new dietary plan consisting of more essential macronutrients, such as proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and fibers, there was a significant change in both her mental and physical health. As AB's stress eating habits began to decrease, so did her hypoglycemia and anxiety symptoms. But anxiety is not the only disorder that has been shown to improve with changes to diet. Even Alzheimer's, a neurological disorder that destroys memory and other important functions, is now being called type 3 diabetes, since the insulin deficiency and resistance you see in diabetes are factors in the neurodegeneration you see in Alzheimer's. This has profound implications. Diet-based solutions are more preventative, affordable, and less likely to have side effects than drug-based solutions. AB knows what's the best diet for her physical and mental health, but not everyone does. There is no universal diet that works for everyone. It's just biologically impossible. And not everyone can have a team of researchers to observe them and provide personalized recommendations like AB. But with Energy, personalized and affordable diet recommendations are accessible to the everyday patient. Energy is an app that integrates a machine learning algorithm that predicts the health status of your brain based on whether it's operating on enough fuel. By training on neuroimaging data of people with a variety of diets and health statuses, Energy classifies whether your current diet is promoting healthy brain function. So how does this work? Well, before it can be put to use in a clinical setting, Energy's machine learning algorithm will have to be trained on a data set. This data set will relate personal factors like age, weight, height, insulin resistance, and most importantly, the diet that someone is currently on, which is assessed via the macronutrient ratio, to corresponding raw and pre-processed neuroimaging data. Before implementing the actual machine learning algorithm, Energy extracts different measures relevant to brain health and energy efficiency, such as brain network stability, FALFF, and gray matter volume, and combines them into a singular brain health index using an experimentally determined weighting scheme. Having the features being the personal factors and the targets being the calculated brain health index, Energy uses a machine learning regression model to predict a numerical value of brain health from the given inputs, offering a more nuanced diagnosis than a simple categorization of healthy or not. So let's delve a bit more into how this data is collected. We assess brain health using functional magnetic resonance imaging, fMRI. We start by extracting targets for the machine learning algorithm from processed time series data. The first measure we extract is FALFF, which describes local spontaneous brain activity of the whole brain by assessing the amplitude in a given voxel or brain area in the low frequency range. This is a good measure of energy because, as you can imagine, increasing blood flow, which is what bold measures, requires more energy, and a number of studies have found FALFF to be significantly different between normal subjects and subjects with neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's. Next, we take into account degree centrality, used to investigate the global connectivity of brain regions. Specifically, it's defined as the number of functional connections between a region and the rest of the brain. Degree centrality is important because regions with high connectivity, or hubs, require energy to send out lots of information. And a number of studies have shown degree centrality to be significantly different and usually lower in subjects with neurological disorders such as depression and Alzheimer's. Finally, we consider network stability, the brain's ability to sustain functional communication between its regions over time. Proteol 2020 have shown that those in a state of ketosis, either after doing the keto diet for a week or fasting and then ingesting ketones, have greater stability over time as opposed to those who are just using glucose as their primary source of fuel. Finally, we also use raw fMRI data in order to make the machine learning algorithm robust and resistant to differences in pre-processing. For example, COLA 2017 found raw weighted images reliably and accurately predicted someone's chronological age. Our application will be used by nutritionists, physicians, and even dietitians to easily help their patients improve their brain health through dietary changes. Let's see how Energy can get the job done. The first step is the preliminary assessment. Our patient, AB, would come to the doctor's office for a checkup. The doctor would input AB's information into a graphical user interface, including other measures related to health, such as fasting glucose and ketone levels, and generate an assessment of their brain health, all without the need for an fMRI scan. But if the doctor doesn't think AB's brain health index is high enough, then they can proceed to the second step, which is the recommendation of a personalized diet. In a separate graphical user interface window, Energy will keep all personal factors about AB constant except for the carb-fat-protein ratio. Energy will then iterate through many different CFP ratios until it finds one that will maximize AB's brain health. The doctor will examine this ratio to get a second human opinion, and if approved, will advise AB on how to implement this ratio in their dietary habits. The world needs this. With Energy, we will be able to adopt a diet-centric approach to brain health, making treatment more accessible, affordable, and personalized for you. With a tap, Energy will deliver you optimal treatment for your best brain health. Thank you.
Awesome. So we'll go into questions.
Yeah, I don't mind starting. Yet again, another great presentation, so thank you. What I really liked was the use of the persona for the users throughout this presentation. So that's really important because it helps us get a understanding of the impact you're trying to have here. But my question, I guess, so what I'm understanding is that this is an app that makes it easier for doctors really to recommend more personalized diets based on more data that they could reasonably, scalably do currently. Is that right? Yes. Is that kind of the idea, right? So this is, would the business model then would be to target, doctors or hospitals or healthcare institutions for the service. Could you talk a little bit more about the business of this?
Yes, so that's definitely the target market that we have. We are going to have to implement this in 2 phases because currently there are not really any good comprehensive databases that contain all the information that we want. So what we're thinking about doing is either asking for funds for our own research studies or collaborating with other existing research studies who are already collecting neuroimaging data to also provide information about the subjects who are participating in those studies. Of course, we would have some sort of strict procedure for making sure the data is in the correct format. as well as the proper way to collect information about a patient's diet. And the time frame for that could look like potentially 6 months to a year, depending on how many collaborations we get. But once we collect a data set and we are able to get the algorithm to train on that data set, we would push it to the app. And from there, we would plan to market, for example, in academic journals or healthcare magazines or technical magazines, and target that audience, like you mentioned, of physicians, nutritionists, dietitians, et cetera.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's really helpful. That makes sense.
Okay, I guess I'll go next. That was a great presentation. Thank you very much. Sounds like a very interesting idea. It sounds like you've thought a lot about the science behind it. It seems very fascinating in the sense that I was trying to figure out a little bit about who your target audience is, who the customer is going to be. I think that's very close to what Jason asked. I just wanted to clarify a bit on what the actual sales plan was. And also the other thing, this sounds like a very ambitious project. So I was also wondering how far along in this project have you even have you guys gotten started?
Right. So we have already started working on developing the algorithm that we would use once we gathered enough data. And also we started working on the graphical user interface that we would be using. Of course, it's not fully fleshed out because we only recently came up with this idea. And also we might make some adjustments to the code based on the data that we do obtain. We would like to work on consulting with, for example, people who have worked on these like large data collection initiatives that we have contacts with, in order to get advice on how we would best proceed with the endeavors that with the things that we're trying to do. And so again, like the time frame, if at least for data collection, that could look like 6 months to a year, and then pushing this app and making sure people are aware of it and that they're starting to use it in their facilities. That could take possibly another 6 months. Not exactly sure the time frame, but hopefully by then we would have a running product that could be in use by different healthcare facilities and nutritionist office and things like that.
Thanks.
Great presentation. Just quickly going off of that point, do you envision healthcare professionals and or nutritionists, like you said, wanting some sort of randomized control trial or validity testing before using a product like this, especially if it includes imaging and a big amount of data that you're collecting from patients?
Right. So what we would plan to do is have the training part. That's where we need all the neuroimaging data to collect, because the algorithm itself, the way that it predicts whether your diet is promoting healthy brain functioning, is using all this data. The idea is that when you're implementing this, for example, in a nutritionist office, your patient won't need an fMRI scan. The algorithm will be able to predict whether the current diet is promoting healthy brain function without the need for an fMRI scan. So I don't know if that was a specific question you were asking, if like whether when your patient comes into the nutritionist office, whether they'll have to like pay money for that. No, what we would plan to do is have the professionals that are like working in office pay for this package with the algorithm included that they can use to inform their decisions. And another point that is important is that this is not going to replace the work of nutritionists. This should be used as a supplement, as a way to make more informed decisions, not only based on qualitative accounts of like what works for patients, but having a data-driven approach that you could use.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has all been very good clarification. And I guess following it up, in the ideal use, right? Have you guys thought at all about, enforceability? I guess maybe the scope of this project is good enough as, like you said, as the supplement to the nutritionist, but getting accurate data, right? If somebody fudges the numbers on, oh no, I didn't, eat junk food 5 nights this week when they totally did, that would kind of mess things up. Is that anything you've thought about at all?
Well, that is, of course, a difficult topic, but that is also the case whenever a nutritionist recommends you a dietary plan. I mean, if, for example, if they make you log your food intake, you could always fudge the numbers. So the same situation could occur here. But hopefully, if nutritionists are working closely with the patients, they could get more accurate reading of what the patients are actually consuming. And hopefully that's something we'll figure out a bit like along the way. We haven't thought too much about it, but definitely something that we should consider.
Yeah, it could totally be out of the scope of this service. But that came to mind when I realized that the individual being recommended isn't sitting for scans themselves. Then, because in that case, you just know what the data is, but that makes sense. Cool.
Okay, so if that's all our questions, thank you all for presenting. Y'all can hop off the call, and judges, we can stay. And everyone watching the stream, thank you. And feel free to head on to one of the talks.